Hi, welcome to the D&D 5th Edition campaign prep stream with me, Nicholas Kory. This is a bit of an atypical streaming time because if you're watching live, you'll notice that it is Sunday night rather than Wednesday morning. The reason for this is because I just got off of the Big 20 DM GM discussion stream, which is that goes on every Sunday night at twitch.tv/gamerstable. So you should definitely check that out and watch some previous episodes. However, I was so excited from the discussion that we had there. We talked about running solo games and one GM and one player. And it was a very intense discussion at some points, and I got really excited. And when I got done with that hour-long stream, I decided that I wasn't done streaming, and I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about my D&D campaign coming up, The Heart of Shatrokas. And if you've seen previous sessions of this stream series, then you know that this is a hex crawl campaign that is set in the jungles of Viscera. And it's the PCs are bringing an item, a magical artifact, back to its original resting place, trying to end the crazy stuff that's going on around them. So what I want to talk about, and this will probably be a shorter episode because it is Sunday night, but what I wanted to talk about that I'm so excited about is prep, like physical props, and what I do to actually prep my game space, as I bump my mic again, my game space as a DM, and less so about like the enemy stats and dungeon setup and stuff like that we've been doing in previous episodes. So what I did is, if you remember in earlier sessions, I talked about how the PCs are going to be brought together because of an NPC that they all know and all have a certain level of investment in. And I thought, well, what would be a good impetus to get them to come together? And I thought, well, what if they each get a letter from this NPC? And my original thought was to actually write physical letters and then mail them to the players. But two of the players live with me, so that wouldn't work out great. And I also thought that it'd be really cool to reveal these when we start our first session, rather than to have them sit on them for a week. So I actually did write... can you see these? Yep. So Rear is that character's name. I actually did write letters, and we're going to look at one of these. Also, another thing that I did is I looked at the languages that the player characters knew, and I found script. So the NPC's name is Ebris. So on the back of, where is it? Our Loxodon characters envelope, there's an E for Ebris. But on the back of our dwarf character, who is Glenda, there is the dwarf rune for E. And then same thing with like our tiefling. I tried to recreate the infernal script. It's not great because that's some crazy script. If you've seen that in the Descent into Avernus book. And then for the half-elf, I did it in the Elvish script as well. So we have nice little personal touches here. And we're going to look at the one for Gwen Peterson, our half-elf paladin. So let's open this up. Handwritten. So there's a letter here that connects to the player character's background in some way. So talks about how they know this NPC. So they shared stories together because this character was a folk hero. Talked about how I will never forget the tale of when you stood against that werewolf. So there's that nice little connection to the player character's background. And then I basically set up the adventure saying that the NPC came into possession of a powerful artifact. They need to return it safely to the ruined city of Zakora. So I give them their destination right there in that in the letter. And then I say, look forward to seeing you at my home in Viscera City on the 5th of Kythorn. So I give them the place that they're going to be going to. And my plan is to start session 1 with the player characters separated from each other. They're all going to be so the paladin's going to be at the Temple of Order. The monk is going to be at the Monastery of the Wandering Soul. So they're going to be at their own, like, training areas. And then they receive these letters. And not only did I personalize the letter, but on the back... This is the really fun part, I think. On the back, I drew a map. I don't know if that's going to be backwards. No, it shouldn't be. But I drew a map. And it's supposed to look like a hand-drawn map, like Ebris actually drew this. So the idea is that it shows where they are, the Temple of Order, in the case of this half-elf paladin, and where they have to get to, my home. And it gives some street names and some landmarks that they can use for navigation and that sort of thing. But then, it's so exciting. I've never done this before, so it'll be really fun to see if this works out like I'm hoping. Probably sounds really loud on the mic doing that, so I apologize. But then, like if we take the monks map, you notice it's a different part of the city. And so if you were to overlay these maps, there is a certain level of overlap to a degree, right about there. So to a degree, it's not perfect, obviously, because I mean he's doing these by hand. The NPC is, so just like me, he's going to make mistakes. But yeah, I just thought that'd be a really fun thing to do for our first session and for a little bit of in-person prep, something that the characters get that is unique to their character and something that they can a physical evidence of the game world, and that's going to increase verisimilitude even if it is written in my hand. I'm not going to worry about getting these back into the envelopes because that's going to be a long and loud endeavor, and I don't want to inundate you with the noises of shuffling papers. But another thing that I wanted to do excuse me, another thing that I wanted to do is create something unique. So one of the players, the monk, has the hermit backstory or background, and the hermit has the feature discovery, and it says work with your DM to come up with an appropriate discovery that you made while you were doing your hermitage, and how that it'll impact the campaign and that sort of thing. So it's a very, very personal, very unique to the campaign. And so I was like, give me a little time to think on it and I'll come up with something and we can discuss it. And so I decided that while he was doing his hermitage in the jungles of Viscera, I posited to the player, I said, how about you come across an ancient tablet with writing on it that you did not recognize? And so you brought it to the Viscaran Anthropologist Society, and a Loxodon anthropologist named Ebris took the tablet from you and said that he'll pore over it and he'll get back to you when he has any details. And that's mentioned in his letter. Like the letter that he's going to get is going to talk about, reference those tablets. He's like, I love that idea. That's great. So what I want to do, and I'm not sold on the wording necessarily of this yet, but I do want to do this, is that eventually he's going to get those tablets back. And there's going to be a letter from Ebris, or maybe he'll be able to talk to Ebris or something, but they'll get an idea for what the tablet says. It's going to be written in Draconic, but it's going to read like gibberish. Like if you were to actually translate the script, it's going to be gibberish. So I wrote out a planned option for what this tablet's going to say. It's probably about like 12 lines. It discusses the various gods of the ancient lizard folk pantheon. And it talks about how Shatrokus is the head goddess, and the rest of them are all subservient to her, but they also vie for power. And then what I was originally going to do, and I don't know if I'm going to do this or not, but I want to run it through a cipher of some sort. I want to give them a puzzle that's going to take them a few sessions to crack. And I'm not sold on what kind of cipher I'm going to do. I originally just did like a Shift 3 cipher, which is where you match it up to the alphabet, and then you shift it either forward or backward 3. So, basically then once you learn that it's a shift cipher and how far you have to shift it, then it's pretty quick to adjust from there. But it's also going to be written in Draconic. So if you see here, these are the letters this is me after I did the shift. And then I started to, as a test, actually write those out in Draconic. This isn't the final product, obviously, and the player isn't going to see this stuff for probably another couple weeks. So I have time. But I think instead of a shift cipher, keep bumping my mic, I'm sorry. I think instead of a shift cipher, I'm probably going to end up doing what's the term for it? There's a cipher that's essentially a shift cipher, but instead of shifting a certain number of letters, you take a word or a passphrase that only uses no more, you can't have repeated letters in it, excuse me, and you put that passphrase first. So like, let's say your passphrase is cat, C-A-T. Then you line that up with the actual alphabet. So C equals A would equal B, and T would equal C. And then you do the rest of the alphabet minus letters CAT, and those would line up from there. So then you would start with B because A was already used, and B would equal D at that point. And D would equal E. So that sort of thing. So then it requires them to discover a specific passcode and then run it through that cipher, which would be a little bit more intense. So I'm not sure which one I'm going to do yet, but the idea is that once they translate this draconic text that I keep just knocking my mic, I apologize for that. I'll find a better way to do this. But once they translate all of this draconic text, it will be clues to how to defeat puzzles in some of the ancient lizard folk shrines that they're going to come across. So that's really fun. This kind of stuff is definitely not needed for a campaign. I don't do this for every campaign. I want to use more in-person props just because I think they're really awesome and I think they really increase that verisimilitude, but this is not the norm for me, and I'm just really excited to see how this will play out. So that's what I'm doing as far as props go for this first session. And that first session is going to be run this coming Saturday, if you're watching live. I'll also be doing my regular scheduled streaming on Wednesday morning as well, so you'll have that to look forward to. But yeah, so this Saturday will be our first session, and then after that, the Wednesday following that Saturday will be kind of a discussion of how that went and then further prep. But anyway, excuse me. Another thing I wanted to do to make my job easier as a DM when I'm actually running, because I have a lot of stuff behind the screen on the table, and that stuff, like I don't have a whole lot of space to work with behind the screen. And I've seen stuff online for like those cards that you can hang up, and I know that a lot of people have done it in the past where they will write the name of a combatant on a note card, and then they will paperclip that to their DM screen, and then they'll have those in order for like combat initiative. And I thought that's a great idea. What if I did more than just their name? So I came up with these little things, and these are just homemade versions. You can find actual like cardstock things of these online. But so this, it would sit on the screen like this. So all the players would see that. It would have a PC's name, their race, and their class. And then the side that faces me has that. It has their name, the PC name, the player name, their race and class, and then this is all written in pen. So in pencil, I will write their armor class, their passive perception, their total hit points, and then their saving throws. And this is very important information because then I have, at a glance, I can just glance at this and see what each character's armor class is, how close they are. Like if, let's say, in this first session, there's going to be a combat, and they're going to be fighting an enemy. I also did these for my enemies as well. So like here's the boss of that first combat. We'll go like that. There we go. So I have his attacks on there as well as sneak attack. Probably hard to read. I apologize if it's a little blurry, but yeah. So then I can know. Like let's say I roll a d6 and add 2, and he does, let's say, 4 damage to a PC. If I know who he did the damage to, I can then look at this PC and go, this PC only has 9 health. They only have 5 hits left. One more hit could take them out. And so then that allows me, as the dungeon master, to kind of, behind the screen, without the players knowing, adjust how my enemies are going to attack, who they're going to attack, who they're going to go after, that sort of thing. So that I'm making sure I'm not killing a PC or putting a PC in danger of being killed in their very first session, because that would suck. If anyone is in chat, I haven't checked chat in a couple minutes, but if anyone's in chat, and if you have any feedback or questions, feel free to post them. I will see them, and I will answer them. Yeah, so I thought I'm very excited to use these. I have them written up for all of the enemies they'll face in the first session, as well as all of the PCs. And like, if you remember from, I think, our first episode of this series, we talked about the Spectres and what I was going to do for Spectres. And this is kind of, I think I have to get, is it going to focus on my face or is it going to focus on that? Let's put that there. It's not going to focus. Anyway, well, I have the Spectre thing here, and what I did was I kept their AC at 12. I dropped their hit points down by half, so they're at 11 hit points, and their damage is still a d6. But if the player fails their con save of 10, then their total HP is reduced by 2. So it's not going to break anybody, but it is going to scare them. Like if you the minute that they take damage from this attack and then have to make a con save, even if they succeed on the con save, just knowing they have to make a con save as a result of being just hit, that's going to scare them. So yeah, so I have these nice little things to go over my DM screen, and I have the letters, like I said, and those are really cool. And then eventually, since we're on the subject of physical things to use in a session, and now I said I would see the chat, and now I'm seeing that I missed chat. So Sageless One, yeah, fudge the dice. I am 100% in the camp of fudge those die rolls. I roll in front of the screen occasionally. Usually I'll roll in front of the screen like when I'm like, well, let's see. It'll sometimes hit a point where I go, let's see who this enemy attacks, and I'll assign like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 3 different PCs, and I'll roll a d6. I'll do that in front of the screen, just so it's clear that I'm not, in that particular case, that I'm not picking favorites. But at the same time, I am a big fan of rolling behind the screen, fudging the die rolls, because the narrative is what's important, not the roll of the dice, in my opinion. Basically, the dice are a suggestion, and if I don't like what the dice say, I just go with what I want. Some players like that, some players don't. So that is what it is. And it's weird that my overlay, this section down, where would it be? Down here, all that should be filling up with chat messages, and it's not. So I don't know why that's not happening, so I apologize for missing those messages, Sageless One, when you posted them. But the other thing that I wanted to do, as far as physical prep, and let's see if I can get this on my stream without breaking anything. That's the real question. Is that I wanted to have a map made, because this is a hex crawl, and hex crawl is all about exploration. So where is the folder? Where is the folder? Role playing. Wow, I am not doing great right now as far as streaming this. I should have had this ready to go, but I just decided to talk about it just now. So let's see if I can find it here. D&D. Here we go. Heart of Shatrokas. Maps. And we want the Viscera DM map. Oh, we don't want that one. We want that one. The player map. No. Here we go. Okay, now let me see if I can get to share this screen without... so we are going to... Bear with me here. This map is going to look super cool, and I really hope that I can do this. Money's been kind of tight lately, but I think I'm going to set some aside for this so that I can spend like $30 and get this map actually printed. Window capture. Nope. There we go. It's not going to look pretty. Is this going to show up? Photos. Is it not? Okay, it's not going to work. So I apologize for that. Let's just close this out. Where did that go? Boom. Not my best moment on stream, but I thought I could do this. I'll figure it out for this coming Wednesday. But I have a map made, like image, and I've showed it before. I showed a small version, but I want to have a big version. I want to have like a I don't know, 18 by 24, 18 by 26 inch version of this made. And when it comes time for the players to start exploring the jungle, without telling them, just unfold this or unfurl this and lay it out on the table and be like, all right, let's explore the jungle. I think that'd be really sick. I'm really excited for that. So yeah, that's it. I mean, it was a fun little stream. Like I said, I was just super excited and I wanted to talk about this stuff. And I can't wait for Wednesday to wait for us to dive in a little bit more and get the last little bit of our prep before our first session on Saturday, and then to discuss that session and prep for the next session following Wednesdays. So thank you very much for joining me. I do appreciate it. Sage this one for hitting me up in chat immediately or on this live stream. I appreciate that. If you're watching this on YouTube or if you're watching it VOD, thank you very much. You can check out my website or my Twitter. They're both down below, as you can see right there. Otherwise, I will see you guys on Wednesday morning. Thank you very much, and I hope that everyone has a good Sunday night.